Here.
Trustee Shawmoser.
Here.
Trustee Van Ryn.
Here.
President Burke.
Here, thank you. Would everyone please rise as a table and join me in saying our pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item 4, which is approval of the minutes. These are the minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting dated October 7th, 2025. Does anyone here on the board have any comments, clarifications, edits that they would like to suggest to the clerk before approval? If none, then the Chair would like a motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting from October 7th, 2025. Do I have such a motion? Moved by Trustee Shadow. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Rayner. Thank you. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Rayner. Yes. Trustee Hayes.
Yes.
Trustee Schauer.
Yes.
Trustee Shawmoser.
Yes.
Trustee Van Ryn.
Yes.
President Burke.
Yes, thank you. President's remarks. I really didn't have anything prepared, but I'm inspired by this big crowd tonight. So I wrote something up. No, I actually was just going to say that I've been away for quite a while. I took a trip with my wife to Japan and Korea, and it was kind of fascinating. I came back thinking about comparing these countries, and I got thinking about the relationship over the years between these two countries. And the more I was there, and the more I met people, the more fascinating I found it to be that back to the end of the war, that we dropped 2 bombs on 2 cities in that place and completely took Japan off the map. And if you went there today, if any of you have been there today, you would marvel at what that place has become. And Tokyo is like nothing you've ever seen in your life. It goes as far as the eye can see. Literally 25 or 30 million people live there. Very neat, very clean, very orderly, very everything. It's kind of amazing. 3rd biggest economy in the world, in a country that's the size of California. Think about that. The size of California. And they have the 3rd biggest economy. And as you observe and you watch people work, you begin to realize how they pull that off. It's one of the most efficient things I've ever seen. So in a strange way, and then when you think about the relationship between the Japanese and the Americans, you might think it would be strained, but it's exactly the opposite. They could not be friendlier and more open-armed towards Americans. And I find that kind of both remarkable, refreshing, and many of them, the attitudes about the bombs and the war, in many cases, when you talk to people, they'll say, well, we sort of had it coming, and it probably saved a lot of lives, and look what it's allowed us to become today. So it was a terrible price to pay, but we picked ourselves up and we created one of the great nations in the world. And I'm just fascinated by that whole mindset, because lots of other countries could have just folded, but also the rest of the world helped. The rest of the world helped Japan get back on its feet. An interesting observation. The other interesting observation that just brought it full circle is they just elected a new prime minister, who happens to be the first female prime minister of Japan, which was big news, and that happened while we were there. So it was like everywhere. And the other big news that happened while we were there was that President Trump visited. So we happened to be on a cruise. So here we were cruising up the Bay of Tokyo. For our last day, it's like 6 o'clock in the morning, and I open my curtains on my stateroom, and I look out, and what do I see but Air Force One? And I'm like, this far, because it's parked way out in the corner of Haneda Airport, and we were cruising right by it, and I go to my wife, wake up, it's the president, he's right there. And she's like, the president's right there? And I said, no, his plane's right there. So his plane was parked there. That was the day he was visiting with the prime minister, and it was the day that he took his Marine One and he flew down to the naval base that we also passed in Marine One to address the troops. So it was just kind of a weird, I'm just sharing that it was kind of a strange pride about it, the relationship between the two back then, the relationship between the two now, and building strength and trying to remain allies and protect each other around the world, which is another pretty cool to be a part of it in the full circle thing. So thanks for letting me rant on about that. I thought it was just something worth sharing. Now, for the large crowd of people that are here tonight, we're going to, in consideration of your time, I suspect you're all here to address the board on a non-agenda item, and that's usually item number 16, which is the very end of the meeting. But not wanting to make you sit through this boring, otherwise boring meeting, I consulted with Mr. Bateman here, and he said there's no issue for us to also make this an opportunity for the public to address the board on non-agenda items. So, with that said, is there anyone from the public here tonight that would wish to address the board on a non-agenda item? If so, would you please come up to the dais? Would you please turn on the microphone? And would you please introduce yourself? And the little, well, yeah, you got it.
Right there. Okay. Lauren Jesu, 23567 North Old Barrington Road, Lake Barrington. I know most of you. I'm here tonight on behalf of the gardeners. I'm sort of the unofficial spokesman for the Fire Farm Community Garden. And I realized just tonight, Bob was just showing me, he had the original rules for the garden that was done in October 2013. And then it was apparently, which I did not realize, that this was amended in January 22. So in the amended thing is where we have a problem and where we have an issue that we'd like to have the board consider. And on the first page, on the amended thing, it says, among other things, plot use will be limited to 24 to 36 month periods. So to back up and do a little bit of history, the garden was first offered, as I said, in 2014. Residents paid $50, non-residents paid $75. So there were 24 plots, and some were left, so there were a couple of non-residents who did join. All 24 plots were taken, people jumped in, they got all enthusiastic, they planted seeds, they planted plants, and about half the people walked away and came back a month or two later to weeds this tall. You couldn't even find your plants. So a lot of people drifted away and abandoned their plots. So it was a field. It's loaded with weeds. It's always going to have weeds. So we were down to about 9 plots being used. So we worked on it. The village paid for compost, they paid for tilling, they had sand brought in, they even had some Roundup applied one year, but then decided they weren't going to spend any more money on it, so if you wanted to garden, you were on your own. So a lot of us did continue at our own expense, and we brought in compost, and we brought in soil amendments and so forth, and worked our tails off on the thing, and tried to keep the weeds down, which is going to always be an issue. The new rules for the gardens say only 24 to 36 month period, which is impractical and probably not fair. It takes years to get a plot to the point where you can actually grow things correctly and well. And people have really worked hard, and I think even now, if you called someone on the waiting list to say it's an empty plot, but you can only have it for 2 to 3 years. If they're a serious gardener and they know what they're doing, they're not going to want to do it. The Village of Barrington's community garden offers a plot to any gardener who wants a plot gets it as long as they want it. There's no limit on how long they can keep the plot. So that is one big issue that we would like the board to reconsider. And apparently in the original rules, that isn't in there. Now maybe Sharon found that in there somewhere, but I didn't see it in the original rules. So I'm not sure why that was added. The other issue is that apparently now, because we have had a waiting list that sometimes is 2 and 3 years old, they're going to ask some of our non-residents, and there's only 4, to give up their plot in favor of a resident. And some of the non-residents have been working there for years. And it really would be sad to try to say to them, I'm sorry, you've got to give that up to somebody else. They're willing to pay the extra fee. They've done more work than their share in most cases. They've done extra hauling of mulch and extra weed whacking on behalf of the whole garden. They've been a fabulous addition, and I would hate to see them leave. I just hate to. We all would. I think they all feel the same way. So we're hoping that won't happen. I have no issue with the idea that we should give the next opening to the first resident who's been on the list the longest. I certainly agree with that. I might suggest that if the resident is not a really experienced gardener, we might try offering them a half a plot, because they may not realize how much work is involved. And one of the newest gardeners has really been struggling because the plot she got was covered in weeds. She is still working to get rid of them, and it's going to take her a few years. So, as I say, work hard on the thing for 2 or 3 years and then say, okay, you're out. Most people right now would just say, never mind, we're leaving. You know, it's just impractical, it doesn't make sense. So I'm hoping the board would consider changing those rules there on page 1. As far as the non-residents having to give up their plot, we really would hope that that's not going to happen. That as long as they pay their dues and they keep their plots in good order, they should be allowed to remain as long as they would like to. So that's the gist of what I have, so I'd like it if you'd consider it. Okay, I know you may not give me an answer tonight or any of us, but that's why we're here. So thanks for listening.
Oh, thank you, Lauren, I appreciate
If you
it.
have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Well, if you stay there just for a second, because first of all, is everybody here related to the garden?
Not everybody.
Raise your hand if you're here about the gardens. Okay, raise your hand if you're not here about the gardens. Do you want a garden plot or not? No, first of all, I'm really impressed that you're all here, so thank you for being here. Like that just tells me everything I need to know about how important this is to you. Okay, number 1. Also, anytime you stand up and you have an issue and you address it, it becomes important to me and to this board because of your standing in this community and what you've done for this community for all these years. So this is a powerful, there you go. So collectively, this is a powerful force to reckon with, okay? Let's just say it. So you guys did good.
It's my gang.
Yeah, you brought your gang in here and all I got are 2 Lake County sheriffs. This is not even fair. And none of these people are going to protect me up here. So, Sharon and I, in transparency, have had these discussions, and she brought to me these issues. And I think for me, the real issue and what we'll get at, and I see that Karen Dalton Lang is here, and that possibly when we talk about these revisions in April, I think that would have been, was that why you were here, or were you not here in April?
I wasn't here.
Oh.
I think it was revised in 2014.
Oh,
It's
Before I was
revised in 22.
2022? Yeah,
22.
before. Okay, I don't remember that.
So the question was, I don't even know what motivated that. That's why I was curious about those changes. That was just for the record. I was trying to understand who was motivated to make that change. It doesn't sound like who participated or aware of that change. So that's neither here nor there. The second question that I would direct to our current administrator is, at this point, we have these sets of guidelines. And I think the question that she's been asking of us and of the board is, well, what do you want me to do with these guidelines? So she's not made any statement one way or the other that we have to or we shouldn't. But to her credit, she's got these guidelines, and we're technically not following the guidelines. So I used to have this old boss who said, it's better to have, loose specifications tightly controlled than tight specifications loosely controlled, right? So meaning, if we have a process, let's use it. If we don't like the process, let's change it, right? And if this process doesn't represent what we really think is the right thing to do, then we ought to take another look and reconsider it, right? So what I would say, and I'm going to certainly let everyone up here at the dais have a point, see if there's a point of view, because what you can do is just kind of check which way the wind is blowing with the board. I honestly don't feel like we have to have the board necessarily rule on anything, or certainly wouldn't tonight, but in other words, there's a part of me that would trust that Sharon working with you, my goal, first of all, I'm thrilled that it's being used and sold out, and it's become, after a long labor of love, sweat and tears, it's become a coveted space and a used, and I love that people are passionate about it and see it as a really valuable amenity. I couldn't be happier, and I'm sure the people up here, that's what we envisioned. We weren't sure we were ever going to get there, but we're there. So that's the good
We
news.
weren't either.
And we don't want to do anything that's going to jeopardize the way that people be with that. So with that said, we want to keep that going and balance that with what we think is the fair and equitable way to do it. And I think between you and you, with a little consulting on the side, we can figure out what is truly a fair and equitable way to do it, okay? And if you guys are willing to continue to work together on this to get to the right answer, to me the right answer is just, again, something that everybody can live with, and also balancing, you know, the use of it and getting as many people involved as we can. You know, the fact that there's a waiting list tells me there's a lot of people who are residents who really want to do this, but there's just no room at the inn right now. So,
No, it really started during COVID. That brought a lot of people back.
Right.
Because it was just, as I said, there was only 9 plots being used for a long time.
right,
And so we were doing a lot of work on that. And we even did solarize at one time, which
Yep.
was kind of interesting, and it worked. But some of the non-residents who took over plots that just weren't being used
right,
were covered in weeds.
Yes.
And it's been an ongoing project to get rid of them.
So one other question I have, and I'm going to open it up. I'd like you to stay so people can ask and you can answer. But my question is, today, is everyone now that is a plot renter actively gardening, and are they keeping the weeds down? And so collectively, we don't have any vacant lots.
We
So
have 5 empty plots, plots 1 through 5, on that north end of the garden.
Yep.
That on the old topographical maps, apparently it was a wetland.
Right.
And I actually think it's a fen, because the water seems to be
Seems to be
coming
seeping
out
out.
all the time.
So it's not,
And it's
you
in
can't
the spring
farm
and
it.
summer, you sink up to your ankles until June. So
Okay.
we tried using those, we just had to give them up. So we covered them all this year because the weeds just are uncontrollable. So what we did was covered everything on those plots with cardboard, and then Cuba Township brought in 3 double loads of mulch, which one guy in particular, who's not a resident, must have shoveled 50 wheelbarrows filled,
Right.
and then dumped 5 and 6 inches of mulch all over those 5 plots. That was a huge area, and it's kept the weeds down by 99%. So that keeps them from spreading their seeds.
Right, do we think there's any way to reclaim that drainage or anything?
Yes.
Do we think it's lost?
Yes,
Because here's the other
raised
thing,
beds.
raised beds.
One of our gardens did go ahead and build herself 4 big raised beds. It's done a beautiful job. It's not terribly inexpensive,
Right,
but if somebody is willing to take a wet lot and build their own raised bed, it's ideal.
right,
You wouldn't have to water it too much because the water's coming from underneath,
right.
but almost a self-watering. But it really would be the ideal spot for some raised beds.
And I raise that because one of the great solutions would be, we can have it always. I mean, more people get involved if we can find a way to make those
Yeah.
usable, right? So,
And a half of a plot with 2 raised beds on it would be great for gardening for somebody, especially somebody who's having trouble bending, and we're all getting older. So
okay, great. I want to open it up to see if there's any questions or comments, starting to my right, Trustee Hayes.
No, thanks for coming, all of you. I mean, clearly that you guys care about this. A couple thoughts went through my head, I'm just throwing them out there, you know. Obviously, we have a wait list, so there's a huge demand for it. You said something that caught my attention. What's the thoughts on being a good neighbor? I get a plot, it's mine, but I don't take care of it. How does that relate to this new thing that came in 22? And I was here, so, and I look back at my notes, and it was about fairness and equity, and rotating along with other residents. So that's something to think about. But then the last thing I had is, was there a physical limitation to expanding what we have because there's demand for it? So those are the 3 things that I thought, you know, as you were describing what's going on, that I think are worth kind of looking at. So thank you for coming.
you're welcome. If one of the plots is not being maintained in the rules, it does say they'll be asked not to come back and they can give up their plot. So at that point, I would have to ask Sheriff Peterson to go out there. is there might be some way to expand it. It wouldn't be cheap. And I'm not sure that you would get more than maybe 3 or 4 plots maximum. So it'd be a lot of money, I think, to take the fence and expand it out. So I don't know what it would cost, but I don't think it would be cheap. And it would give us maybe 4 more plots.
Yeah, I found that in light of thinking, if we were to go back to a permanent situation where you give everything to you give it up, well, then if people never give it up, nobody has an opportunity. So,
People will give it up because people get older, they hurt their backs,
Sure.
they run out, they start traveling, they just don't have time.
but I thought it was match demand with capacity. That was the thought.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Show.
Thank you, Lauren, and all of you. I know when I first moved to LPS, I gardened out at the LPS garden for a while, and compared to the village's plot, it is so much easier to work the village's land than it was out there because it's being fenced and because you finally were able to upgrade it, because I know those first couple of years it was really, the land was pretty tough as far as getting to grow in it. I echo what the trustee Hayes said, and that is, I guess I would like to see what cost might be involved in expanding it one way or the other, whether or not it's south or whether it's not east or west
It
in
would have
that
to be
way.
south.
Would it have to be south?
Yeah.
Because you move the fence, really that's kind of what you're talking about, expanding it. But I don't know the practicality, but just, I think it's something to perhaps take a look at. The other question that I have is, what are you proposing? In other words, we now have the restrictions on how long. What really does the group want the village to consider in revising, if in fact it's to revise the whole operation? I don't think this board wants to micromanage the garden. I think it's really up to those that are using it, but we'd like to know really what you really are asking for.
Well, I think the point is that you made, is that because of the waiting list and the big demand, that's probably why it was added that you could only keep a plot for 2 to 3 years. But the original plot does not say that. And I think most people don't want to put an end on it. They'll end when they can't do it anymore, and then it'll be available for somebody else. Or as one lady had to give it up because her work schedule changed and she was flying all week, all summer, she couldn't do it, and so forth. There's always something, somebody hurts a back, can't do it anymore, has to have surgery. So there's different reasons, and the plots will open up eventually. But I think people here would like to know that they have their plot as long as they can use it and
Maybe
keep
one
it
of
in
the
good order.
Maybe one of the other options is splitting the two, so you do it that.
We had kind of, some people had 2 plots, they've given that up for 1. So, and then some people have half, and we've offered half to some people. They usually then either just decide to drop out, which happened like 3 times in 1 year, or they just want to do another one now, so the next time it comes available.
No, I appreciate what all of them do.
They-
Gardening is a tough thing.
And we
Weather
gave,
and everything.
a couple of summers ago, we gave, Susan was very nice to haul all the stuff over to the Cuban pantry on Monday mornings and kept track of it. And then 1 year, she kept track, we gave 500 pounds of vegetables to Cuban Township, which was pretty cool.
It is pretty. Thank you.
Okay.
Trustee Brady.
Thank you for coming. I'm relatively new in the area. I come out of Highland Park, and I have a great love for community gardens because my father, for years, had a plot along the Northwestern Railroad tracks. Don't know if you're familiar with how they do it down there, but it's pretty impressive, and everybody wanted to do it, and they ultimately did go ahead and limit it to, you got it for 5 years. And then if nobody else was on the waiting list, you could keep it. But it was always a way to try to open it up so that other people could have that opportunity also. I remember pulling fire hoses, garden hoses across Green Bay Road to get water over there because there was no water.
We have water, we're lucky.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's a nice setup. And I'm in favor of gardening, but I think it's also, as everyone else has said, I think we need to be equitable in how everyone gets a shot at it too, and maybe there are other options.
Thank you, Trustee Van Ryan.
Thank you all for being here. I love riding by and seeing the sunflowers and the different things growing. I think it's a beautiful asset to our community. I'm curious, I haven't heard a number. Do we know how many are on the waiting list?
I think,
Yeah, there's 16 total and 9 residents that are on the waiting list.
And how many plots total?
there's 19 available plots.
Does that include the ones that are covered?
No. If we added the other 5 plots, the original is 24 plots. But again, they can't select.
Sure.
But raised beds on those, which is great if someone's interested in offer the plot. They only have to build it up for it to, they don't have to be that high.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great to see you, Lauren. And we saw each other, we were setting up the barn stuff,
Yes.
putting up weights. And I remember that day, I really more of a comment than a question, but there was a women's gardening there. And we just started to chat. And I believe she was a second grade school teacher. And she mentioned maybe she's okay. She mentioned that she works in the garden 70 hours a day. And she goes, this is one of the most important things in my life. That's what she said. And so for me, the struggle is how do you limit such passion, right, to 2 to 3 years? And I agree with you. But the balance it with equity, some other people would love to do that and have that experience, right? And so therein lies that quintessential struggle, right? And what is the time frame? What is 2 to 3 years is way too short. Permanent is probably way too long. I don't know. So that's what I'd be wrestle with it. Perhaps you can provide a board with other community gardens out this way, Northwest Suburbs. What their best practices that might be helpful to give us guidance.
The only one I know of right now, that's the first I've heard, is the one in Highland Park having that restriction, but Barrington is, as long as they want, and keep it up. If they're not keeping it weeded and in good shape, they're asked to leave, so it can be given to someone.
It's Barrington Park, Mr. Division Park.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you again, Lauren. This will all be taken under advisement. I think we will challenge Sharon to take a look at this. We'll look at all these different things. I think a lot of good ideas have floated around here. We're not taking any action one way or the other. It's status quo, with the seasons coming to an end. So let's get this resolved so that going into next season, we know where we are. How's that?
Great, I appreciate it, thanks.
Thanks, everybody, for being here. Good to see you. If you could turn that mic off, just helps us. And the rest of you guys run away as fast as you can because we're going to start finding out. We're going to have a report on finances if you'd like to stick around. It's very exciting. Thank you all, and good night. Okay, so the next item is, the opening of the public to address the board on agenda items. There's nobody here who wants to do that. We move on to that. And the next item after that is the consent agenda, which we have done. And the next item on that is the treasurer's report. Treasurer is not here. So Jen is going to fill in and do a smack dab job. Do you want to come up here or do you want to do it from there?
What's your preference?
So wherever you're more comfortable.
Right here.
Okay. Make sure your mic's on, Jenny. And thank you for being here tonight and presenting. I told Jenny we were going to credit her good. She said, not a problem. She's well prepared.
I've been studying the financials all day long, so I'm ready for any questions that will come my way. And I want to thank you guys all for giving me the opportunity to actually come and do this.
very excited and nervous all at the exact same time. So the financial statements have been prepared and reviewed for 5 months ending September 30th, 2025. Starting with the general fund, if you look at the flash report on page 2 of the financials, it shows assets at $4,027,000 with the corresponding liabilities of $465,000 plus equities at $3,562,000. Revenue for the first 5 months of the fiscal year are at $2,196,000, and expenses are at $1,599, resulting at a net income of $500,097. Compared to last fiscal year, there was a net income of $127,000. To make a good comparison between the 2 years, you actually have to look at the net income loss of just regular operations. So down towards the bottom portion of the flash report, you'll see underneath the big gray line, the regular operations. So when removing extraordinary amounts, they're pulled out to determine the ordinary income loss. And below that line, you can see the regular operations for the fiscal year to date of a net income of $934,000 compared to the fiscal year 25 net income was $815,000. A large part of this difference is due to sales tax. Since the new sales tax laws went into effect January 1st, we've collected almost an additional $254,000. Use tax is actually down so far this year at $57,000.
And we assume those are kind of offsets, in other words. One offset, the use tax is probably down just because of this internet-based sales taxes.
Correct.
Right?
That is what I would
So
assume.
we kind of net that out, it's a couple hundred to the favorable.
Yes.
Right, that's the way to think about that.
Yep.
Okay.
For the balance sheet, all cash accounts are in order, as well the bank statements have been reconciled monthly and reviewed. If you could please flip to page 13 and 14 of the financial statements. You can see the actual to budget report for the general fund. Actual revenue is at about 59% of the budgeted amount, and expenses are about 47% of the budgeted amount for the first 5 months. This time of year, where we start seeing to collect some of the annual revenues, bring the budget to actual percentage up. Sales tax is trending right now above budget, most likely due to the new law. Local use tax is below budget because of the offset of the sales tax. The decline of use tax is more than made up. We're offsetting the use tax by the larger increase of the sales tax. At this time, there's really no concern. Does anybody have any questions about the general fund before I move on to the other funds? Okay.
Well, good, thank
If you guys don't mind flipping to page 15, motor fuel tax fund has $549,000 of net current assets. The fund is growing about $18,000 to $20,000 per month. The amount is more than enough to cover the final road work invoice, which should be approximately $106,000. If you guys could flip to page 27. I'm
Answer
sorry.
your question, Jane?
Yes.
The 126,0493, that's a previous bill that we paid over the fund this year, is that correct?
It is my understanding that that is going to be the final invoice.
Okay, right, very good.
That we have not paid yet.
Okay, just to show, okay, thank you.
And I'm sorry, I misspoke. If you guys don't mind going to page 21. The water sewer fund has a net current assets of approximately $1,660,000. On page 26, you're able to see the budget to actual comparison for the water sewer fund, and at this time, there's really no concerns. On page 27, you can see the infrastructure fund has a current net asset of $268,000. This is the new fund that was established on May 1st of this year. Any questions before I go into the warrants?
Questions for Dave? No?
Warrant A, there's just a couple unusual invoices, but they are budgeted items that I would like to highlight. There is the Reiki invoice, Reiki interior invoice for $17,720. This is the balance owed for all of the lovely new furniture that we have in the boardroom and the community room. And then there is also in the general fund, there's a check for IML risk management of $18,892. And also to the same, there in the water sewer fund, there's a check for $16,558. And this is insurance, it's the liability insurance. In warrant B, there's really nothing unusual. It's all regular items, all budgeted regular items. And that is all I have for you guys. I don't know if you guys have any questions about the warrants.
I do not. What's the total in warrant B, please?
Warrant B's total is, one second.
So I got it right. We will put it here. 126, 291, 11.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the board on any of the items? No questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. And we did really grill you all that hard. You want
You had another opportunity before I run out that door.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, let's see, where are we then? Are we going to, do we need to have any additional discussion on the tax levy resolution at this point?
Separate.
Oh, it is? Oh, okay.
And that's item D.
Great, thanks for reminding me. I thought we were doing those in block. All right, so without any further discussion, then sure would like a motion to approve in block pay bills in the amount of 178, approve financial statements as of September 30th, 2025. Pay bills in the amount of $178,352.18 is listed on the accounts payable warrant A dated November 4th, 2025, and C, pay bills in the amount of $126,291.11 as listed on the accounts payable warrant B dated November 4th. Do I have such a motion, please?
So
Moved by trustee Van Ryn. Do I have a second? Second. Seconded by trustee Shaw Moser. Would the clerk please read the roll?
Trustee Brainerd?
yes.
Trustee Hayes?
Yes.
Trustee Schaller?
Yes.
Trustee Schaumoser?
Yes.
Trustee Van Ryn?
Yes.
President Burke?
Yes, thank you very much. Now, moving on to item D, which is the tax levy resolution. The village is in a strong financial position. There's no need to increase the tax levy. This was discussed in the committee of the whole. Are there any other questions or discussion required before we move this to a vote? If not, then Chair would like a motion to adopt resolution number 2025-R-11, a resolution for a 0% increase in the village tax levy of $823,000. Do I have such a motion, please? So moved by trustee Schaumoser.
Second.
Seconded by trustee Hayes. Thank you. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Brainerd?
Yes.
Trustee Hayes?
Yes.
Trustee Schaller?
Yes.
Trustee Schaumoser?
Yes.
Trustee Van Ryn?
Yes.
President Burke?
Yes, thank you very much. Moving right along to agenda item number 9, the administrator's report. Sharon.
Thank you, President Burke. I have a few items this evening. One is I had the opportunity to attend the ICMA conference. It 1 year later from responding to a mass casualty event, energy resiliency, microgrids, and resilience hubs, tracking and evaluating economic development projects for small municipalities, and fraud risk vulnerabilities. They were all great sessions, good things to bring back to the village, especially with us working on our continuity of operations. And I always want to thank everybody for letting me attend that conference. And then just a reminder for tomorrow morning, for those of you that signed up for the legislative breakfast, that's it. Registration starts at 8 o'clock at the Park District, and the opening begins at 8:30.
Who has signed up? You're going? You're going?
Susie's going.
Oh, it's Susie.
Yes.
See you all.
That's all I have to say.
Save a seat so we can all sit together.
I certainly will. I'll text everybody where we are.
A lot there.
Yes. Yes. It'll be easy to get in and get parking.
Yes. I drove through the new road today. It's quite something.
Yeah.
It's quite an operation. Yeah, it is a bit of going through that. Thank you. Any questions for the administrator? Okay. Moving on. Agenda item number 10, the clerk's report. Rebecca.
Thank you. Thanks again for letting me go to my training, which was early October. Always learn a lot and really happy to go this year too. So I just have year 3 and then I can move along with my certifications and my designation, which is really exciting. So I appreciate the support. As I had stated in the committee of the whole, we're just, well, me personally, I'm trying to have an initiative just to help people sign up for e-notifications. I know that I actually get feedback from our website a lot of times. For example, Mark Jason and other residents will notice that things are posted and ask questions about it, and it's great, and there's a lot of great information. So if you have any neighbors or friends that want to sign up for those e-notifications, follow our Facebook or LinkedIn. There's a lot of great stuff that they put out almost daily. So, and I know that you also put out a lot of notifications. So just encouraging people to keep connecting with us. And then really to begin with another, but excited to meet with Trustees and President Burke and Sharon about the business park and all of that. I know they're talking about our businesses for quite some time and just trying to figure out the best way to approach communication and also just getting compliance. So I'm excited to have that conversation and we'll move on with that. So.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions for the clerk? All right. Moving on to the reports of standing committees. Item 11, branding and communication. Trustee Van Ryan.
Thank you, President Burke. I am pleased to report that we have exceeded 300 followers on LinkedIn. We've been aiming for that for a while.
She's not going to give that up.
Pleased to salute Sharon when she was in her training last week, and just like Rebecca said, a lot of great content for us to share that's driven by the staff here, so appreciate all the support. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Trustee Van Ryan? Okay. Next, economic development. Trustee Hayes.
So the neophyte role, Andy and I did, President Burke and I met and went through kind of the history, a little bit of it. And the comprehensive plan is part and parcel of it to most of the decision making. And I wasn't aware of that document, so great. I have it. I thought maybe I knew. Brenda, you were new, and Peter, when we met, because I ripped Peter, relief in place is what RIP means in military terms, where you hand over the battle to your battle buddy. But I met with Peter, we were kind of talking about that. I'm looking forward to looking at the elements of that, but one of the things I know is what I don't know. And I'd like to get kind of understand that business part better, so looking forward to tomorrow in a big way. Not to be the hammer or anything, but to just understand it, so it can kind of be informed. So I'm excited about that. I do want to talk today, though, mostly about a project that got started a while ago, this continuity of operations, and how this is coalescing right now. So, as you recall, about a year and a half ago, we started out with Kevin coming back from some intelligence briefs. The idea, are we really prepared? And of course, I have much experience doing it at state level, high, national level stuff, and reflecting on that, this whole journey. Well, we hired a firm called AMPS, Arco Murray, to do this study. Sharon and I just got their kind of proposal report. It's 152 pages. I haven't read it yet. So we're going to report out on that next month. But that's a key piece to their opinion, of what do we have, what's possible. Then we also sent out a newsletter, the communication about the planning committee. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 volunteers, which is fantastic. Casey Mathias, Brian Ruxton, Joe Curtis, Weston Moore, Maya Robinson, Tim Carrillo, and Art Caroline wanted to be part of it. The good thing about it is we have those 16 critical infrastructure sectors. Every one of them is covered by these volunteers and the likes of Gable, Hamilton, and the other partners. So we've got the right mix of people, I think, for this. So tomorrow night I talk with President Burke. Kevin is doing kind of a repeat of what he did a few months ago, but an update at Round Lake Beach. So we invited the volunteers to go to this event tomorrow night. We had to spend, I don't know, $400, something like that, to buy a seat for them to help, kind of spin them into this. So I'm going to get with Sharon by the end of the week. We're going to pick a date in the middle of the month, and we're going to pick a weeknight or a weekend. You're all going to be invited. You can choose to come. I'm going to run everybody through the orientation process, which we're going to start studying. Really understanding the village, understanding critical infrastructure, understanding risks and vulnerabilities, taking these people with this great backgrounds and marrying them up with going them to go research those problem sets, taking this AMS-ARCO Murray work proposal and layering all that together with the hope by spring we have a pretty good sense of what our problems are or can be, and then set forth solutions to mitigate those risks. So it's going to be a fun journey. I'm elated by the volunteers. It's very rare you get of the right mix. I mean, it's amazing. Here was one of the gentlemen's background: chemicals, nuclear, food safety. Wow, that's fantastic. We had somebody who's versed in commercial and home building, healthcare, a medical plan. Think of that. We have a person who's totally steeped in communications and emergency communication systems. And then engineering and finance. So it's a great mix. So that's kind of where we are with that. I wanted to say one thing on the amps. We had that review Village Hall, what we do about powering this place up. So they've addressed that. I haven't read it yet, but that was here. Our water plant, which is just south of us here, that generates water for the business park. How do we make sure that that's up and available? What can we do with solar in the village? That was the other part. Our wastewater treatment for the business park, how does that work? Is there an opportunity for us to make that better? We don't know. And then Lake Barrington Shores also participated in this because they're half the village, and the residents there, although it's private infrastructure. So we got a lot of, this is all coalescing now. I'm super excited to get moving on this. And so with this work and everything else, the water rate sewer study, all this has come together to educate and inform. So we're going to have a lot of opportunity to do that next year. So that's my report today.
Thank you. Trustee Hayes, questions for Rich? No? Moving on, external relations, that's me. Not much to report other than I missed another BACOG meeting, but my colleague to my left saved me once again because I was late getting home from Japan. Due to some air traffic control issues, apparently. And she's nice enough to just do a brief update on the BACOG meeting.
And thank you, President, for letting me attend those.
Oh,
I enjoyed
God.
it. I learned so much.
She always thanks me, and I'm like, she's bailing me out.
And I do have to call out to everybody. It was at the new Tower Lakes Village Hall. Pretty impressive. If you haven't had a chance, do take a tour of it. And you have a jail. Let me go into the jail. That was fun. I did get handcuffed to the bar. I didn't no, we do not have pictures of that. The meeting also was probably the shortest meeting I've ever been at, so very high level, very quickly. You already gave one of my reminders. There's also a local government pitch day, which you all participated in the past, December 8th and 16th. There was a separate email sent out about that, and I know that's something you'd like to be involved with, Peter, so I want to make sure you know about that. There also was some discussion by Kimberly in terms of some legislation that went through, came out of committee last week, and will be voted on in the spring, and and it has to do with pension funding, which is being driven by the labor unions, which the goal for police and fire is to eliminate tier 2, which if it does get approved is going to put significant increases on our municipalities. So just be aware of that. And then there are 2 things to be aware of from the neighboring communities, Deer Park specifically. This is one you guys might want to know about. Where the old Regal Theater was, that's right across the street from Home Depot, there's going to be a Portillo's put up, along with the Springs of Lake Zurich, which are 218 apartments. And so it's going to become very dense. They have been fighting it because Deer Park has a common border, but they didn't win on that, so they're very concerned in terms of what's going to happen with traffic, because you know it's pretty clogged on 12 anyways.
I'm intrigued by, did they say how at Portillo's, where it would be located and how people would access it? Because right now you got to go all the way down to June Terrace or whatever that little cut through is.
That's where it's going to be, right past the underpass, which always is a
Disaster. But are they literally going to let them curb cut and actually have
It
it
is
out there?
becoming a huge
Oh, okay.
controversy.
So that's a big issue.
It's a very big issue.
Okay.
And they
That-
have lost because it's Lake Zurich who really owns it, but it's becoming an issue.
That's
They
a lot.
agree. Uh-huh.
A lot of research. And that's the Portillo's I was trying to get on Route 14 here.
Yeah, well, we did near the Portillo's, and they actually were able to negotiate down the apartment buildings were supposed to be over 248, and they got them down to 218. The other thing is Tower Lake did go ahead and pass a helmet law for e-scooters and all of that to conform to what the state law is. And that's it. And thank you again for letting me go.
Thank you, Trustee Brainerd. That's appreciated again, and it's a good report. And one other addendum, I think I tried whenever I see in the news, I shoot stuff about electric vehicles and scooters, and is it Barrington Heights that is now, and we've talked about this a lot, where it's been difficult to classify these vehicles. So they said, forget all that, we're just going based upon speed. So they just basically said the category is if that thing is capable of a speed that exceeds 10 miles an hour, it goes into this class. If it can exceed 20 miles an hour, it goes into this class. And these are the rules. Because what they're really getting at, and we've talked about this with Lake County and others, is this is an enforcement nightmare. It's like, how does anybody know what to do when they see a kid going through a neighborhood with no helmet on, doing 37 miles an hour down the street? Is that legal? Is that not legal? Am I supposed to be doing something with this person, etc.? So it'll be interesting to see, and I think I sent that to you guys, but it sure does kind of seem to simplify, right? Like it's just all based upon speed. So now I can speed gun that kid on his scooter, and if he's going more than 20 miles an hour, I can pull him over. So it'll be interesting. Everybody's scrambling to try to adopt something. The problem is everybody's adopting something a little bit differently, and that becomes an enforcement nightmare for you guys, because if every village adopts a difference, then it's not enforceable. Nobody's going to know how to do it. So that's why, Senator Hills and others have been helping us, and we've talked with her several times about, can you work here in Illinois, or at least regionally, to come up with something that we can all adopt and live by, to give our police a chance at all of trying to enforce this in a meaningful way. So that's what we're saying.
That's what the county is really looking for, state oversight.
Absolutely.
It can be universal.
Right. And that's why Senator Hills, that's why we really educated her on this, because we want her to say, have a voice for us here about how important it is that we get a universal kind of standard that can be much more easily enforced, because it's just, right now, it's not safe.
We get that chance tomorrow.
Pardon?
We get that chance tomorrow, actually.
We do. Oh, yes, tomorrow. Yeah. She may have updated us on that. She's made a lot of progress. She's working hard, so I appreciate that. Thank you. Next is Finance, Human Resources Administration. Trustee Shaw.
Thank you, President Burke. Relatively new to this new role, and Bev Sharon talked about the booklet that we'll be distributing. I really want to thank going to be. We went the full 2 hours at Pembroke Park Donut Shop there, so I really appreciate that. And looking forward to meeting with everyone on the team. So it's, I look forward to moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Any regrets?
It's exciting. I do really like reclamites and potholes.
I know you did. I knew we had to tear you away from reclamite and potholes, but, you know, everybody gets a turn. So now that's Trustee Branger's opportunity to love reclamite and potholes and asphalt. So, very good. Thank you. I mean, roads and infrastructure, speaking of customer.
Peter did a great job transitioning me, telling me all about those red lights.
There you
My
go.
friend.
Yep.
I also talked to Sharon about driving the roads together so that we can get up to speed on all of this.
Yep.
And I also did, in an aside, talk to Peter about talking to Good Shepherd together. So I'm going to make the connection tomorrow night. We'll set up some time. Okay, that's it.
Just a question for you, maybe for either one of you. Gail Hamilton is here presenting. Were we happy with their work? Do we think that they did a good job? It was a good value for what we paid them to do the work?
Yes, I felt it was. It was much cheaper than what was proposed prior, a few years ago. And no, I was very, very happy with them. I've been very happy with them. They've been great with, obviously last year was their first year working with me on that road program, and it went smooth. It was great. Yeah, no complaints.
Very good. Thank you. Item F, Public Safety, Trustee Show.
Thank you, President Burke. Lieutenant Curry, front and center, I think you have a major announcement to make, as well as we're talking about, obviously, the e-bikes. It was an interesting article which ties into that about are lithium batteries in e-bikes a disaster waiting to happen. An interesting aside to the whole e-bike thing is the batteries that are in them, which really isn't any part of the sheriff's department, it's a fire department issue, but it kind of brings up some additional concern about what that whole thing is going. However, welcome, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
So for my initial report, no major incidents over the past month. So I don't have much to talk about with that. But I do have Sergeant Mark Heine here. And I am introducing him to you because he's taking over as the liaison to Lake Barrington. So I'm moving on from this position. So Mark is one of 3 people that has been in the sheriff's office longer than me. So about 2 years or something. So Mark, you want
A
to...
little background. Welcome, sir.
Well,
How are you doing?
Sergeant, and just who did you piss off at headquarters that made you have to
I was recently promoted back in March after I'm on my 28th year as a sheriff with Highway. I had 30 years with the county working the jail prior. So I had my time here. I finally got the itch to promote, and I got promoted, so now I'm on midnight shift. So, but that might be a little bit of a barrier for everybody to get hold together to do work the overnight hours. But if you send me an email, that's the fastest way I can respond because I can get it on my phone and on a watch. It's the first thing I check when I wake up. But like I said, 30 years, I've worked everywhere from highway patrol, evidence technician, traffic enforcement, truck enforcement. Like I said, I've been a technician for over 15 years. So I did my gamut of a lot of different things. So if there's anything you guys have a question with or need help with, I can get the answers if I don't have them already.
Do we have to move our meeting date to the midnight shift now? Or not?
Only if you want to.
I think that's a pretty great report.
No, this time frame works perfect for me. It's not a problem.
Okay. Well, welcome. We look forward to working with you. Any other background? You live in what area?
I live in the very opposite side of the county. I live in the very northeast part of the town called the Harbor. Sure. Born and raised there. I've been everywhere from a Boy Scout leader, to a football coach, baseball coach. I have 4 kids at home. They're all, the youngest is 19, oldest is 27.
Wow.
So I have a whole game. So like I said, I car to Bitcoin, it's more than likely not us.
Thanks for your service.
Yes, well, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I was thinking, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
The next started with you guys in 2019, so it's been a little bit, so.
Been here the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, first of all, welcome, congratulations on your promotion, and we do look forward to working with you. You have big shoes to fill, but regardless, we know one thing about Lake County Sheriff, and that is regardless of whose boots they are, you guys provide professional, great service. We've always had a great working relationship with everybody within the whole organization, from Charlotte to Heidelberg all the way down. So we have a really fantastic working relationship, open communication, and we get stuff done together. So that's how we like to work, and we rely on you guys heavily. You support us super well, and particularly Lieutenant Burke, we appreciate the years that you've spent with us. As our liaison, protecting us, the things that come with the territory, we don't take that for granted. We appreciate your willingness to do that, your ability to do that. So thank you for that as well. And we'll miss seeing you around here. Thank you.
And having said all that, I'm still on afternoon shift, so, you know, Mark might be sleeping and I might be working, so if you really do need something, you know, if you call our command office, it might be me, so.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. That's the news from the Sheriff's Department, the Wakanda Fire Department, District. Trustee Brainerd and I were on part of their strategic focus sessions that were held last week. Extremely interesting, and kind of looking at 5-year plan and what is necessary in that 5-year plan, and what is important to people. At least in the session that I was in, the police departments from Wakanda, Hawthorne Woods, Tower Lakes were involved in it, so it was really a pretty good session. Safety is probably the main thing that people are looking for. How the department gets there and what their challenges are is another part of that focus group. It was informative, interesting, and hopefully will be beneficial to the department as they're planning for the future. And I was interested to find out with that the new chief that they have, Kurt Eskelman, who was at our meeting a couple months ago, was the first chief that came outside of the district. And that was pointed out as being extremely beneficial to the department, because in the past, which I think I've gone through 5 chiefs while I've been going to their meetings over the years, all very excellent individuals, but as far as, I guess, getting a new set of eyes from the outside, organization-wise and every otherwise, it's been a great goal. So that represents half of the fire district that we have, obviously. Wakanda is sort of Miller Road North, and Barrington countryside is Miller Road South. They all work together, but it was, as I said, interesting, beneficial, and hopefully will help them move ahead in the years ahead. You forgot something?
No, I just wanted to, excuse me, I'm sorry for the interruption. I just wanted to talk to one of the officers.
Oh, okay. And as far as the department goes, year to date, they've had 3,700 calls of interest, 2,600 of them of emergency vehicle, emergency response. So you can see that ambulance floating around here quite a bit. 3,700 calls, 2,600 emergency. Barrington Countryside, I thank them again. They participated in our Barrington with the vehicle. Interesting enough, both the Department of Wakanda and Barrington, equipment failure, equipment replacement is becoming an extremely concern because of the availability of parts, timeliness, and things like that. And some of this equipment is 18, 19 years old, and it's, you know, they can't get parts for it, of course. It's become a problem. So when you see the vehicles come down the block, at least they're all running, but they've got that kind of big borrowing of steel sometimes for the other departments. And mutual aid, it works out well that way. But basically, that's it. Thank you. And my report.
Thank you, Mr. Shell. Any questions? key open space there, so that's, is there any report from trustee Perkins that you're aware of?
No.
Very good. Moving right along to item 12, business, there is none. Ordinances, there are none. Resolutions, there are none. New business, there is none. Once again, we'll make this an opportunity for the public to address the village board on agenda items, but I see there is no one here. Is there any need for closed session? Since there is no need for closed session and there is no other, as former President Richardson used to say, his favorite part of the meeting was adjournment. So could I have a motion, please, to adjourn the Board of Trustees meeting for Tuesday, November 4th, 2025?
So moved.
Moved by trustee Van Ryn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by trustee Shaw. Will the clerk please